Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this explosive edition of entertainment news where the unexpected collides with the dramatic in the most shocking way imaginable. Imagine the elegance of a timeless icon like Julie Andrews, the voice behind Mary Poppins and The Hills alive with the sound of music, stepping onto the vibrant, no-holds-barred set of ITV's Loose Women. It's a show known for its candid chats, heartfelt confessions, and the occasional fiery debate among its panel of bold personalities. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of a moment that's sent ripples across social media, tabloids, and living rooms nationwide. Julie Andrews kicked off Loose Women after a heated clash with Denise Welch. This wasn't just any interview, it was a perfect storm of generational perspectives, personal passions, and unfiltered opinions that escalated faster than a Broadway overture. As we unpack this story, we'll explore the build-up, the blow-up, the backlash, and what it all means for celebrity culture in our hyper-connected world. Picture the studio lights beaming down on the iconic red couch, the audience buzzing with anticipation, and two women at the peak of their careers locking eyes over a topic that strikes at the core of modern life. Julie Andrews, at 90 years young, remains a beacon of grace and resilience, her career spanning decades of accolades, from Oscar wins to enduring Broadway revivals. She's not one to shy away from the spotlight, but appearing on Loose Women was meant to be a light-hearted nod to her latest memoir, The Whole Enchilada, a witty reflection on life's second acts. Denise Welch, the fiery Geordie powerhouse who's been a staple on the panel since 2002, brings her unapologetic candor to every segment, often sparking debates on everything from politics to parenting. Their encounter was billed as a dream matchup, the refined dame meets the relatable rebel. But as the cameras rolled on that fateful October afternoon in 2025, what started as polite probing turned into a verbal showdown that left jaws on the floor. To set the scene properly, let's rewind to the morning of the taping. Fast forward to the heart of the taping, where the studio's cozy confines suddenly feel like a gladiatorial arena under the glare of unblinking cameras. Julie Andrews, seated with her posture impeccable as ever, sips from a water glass, her eyes sparkling with the wisdom of a life richly lived. The panel has been bantering about empowerment, with Stacey Solomon chiming in on motherhood in the spotlight, and Nadia Sawalha adding her trademark wit. Denise Welch, lounging with that signature relaxed intensity, her blonde waves framing a face etched with the lines of authentic emotion, steers the chat toward bolder territory. Julie, darling, she begins, her northern lilt warm yet probing, you've been the epitome of the perfect nanny, the supermom we all aspired to. But in today's world, with all this talk of body positivity and breaking the mold, do you think Mary Poppins would get cancelled for being too prim? The audience chuckles, expecting a light quip from the dame. Julie pauses, her lips curving into a thoughtful smile, and responds with measured elegance, "Oh, Denise, Mary was never about perfection, she was about magic in the mundane. But yes, our stories evolve, and perhaps a spoonful of inclusivity helps the narrative go down." It's a diplomatic dodge, laced with her trademark charm, but Denise isn't one to let nuance slide unchecked. Leaning forward, her eyes flashing with conviction, she presses, "Come on, Julie, let's be real. Those old films whitewashed everything, as spoonfuls of sugar hiding bitter truths about race and class. We're finally calling it out, and it's about time the classics got a remix that doesn't sideline voices that weren't heard back then." The studio quiets, the laughter fading into a hush as Julie's expression shifts from amused to affronted. She's no stranger to critique, after all. Her vocal surgery in 1997 tested her mentally, but this feels personal, a jab at the legacy she's poured her soul into. "My dear," Julie retorts, her voice steady but edged with steel, "art isn't a battlefield for agendas. The Sound of Music wasn't propaganda, it was poetry born from pain. To rewrite history for points is to diminish the poets who penned it." The exchange crackles, the audience leaning in, sensing the shift from chat to confrontation. Christine Lampard attempts to interject with a gentle fascinating points. "Ladies," but Denise, fueled by her history of advocating for mental health and against performative allyship, doubles down. "Poetry? It was privilege, Julia, white privilege, singing over the hills while others' stories were silenced. I'm not diminishing, I'm demanding space at the table. Julie's cheeks flush, a rare crack in her composure, as she counters, demanding, or dictating? I've fought for my voice when it was taken literally, and I won't stand for it being labeled insufficient now. The commercial break hits like a merciful curtain fall, but the tension backstage is thicker than fog over the Thames. Julie Andrews, ever the professional, excuses herself to the green room, where her publicist hands her a chamomile tea with trembling fingers. That was intense, the aide murmurs, scrolling through initial social media pings already lighting up with #Julie vs Denise. Meanwhile, Denise Welch paces the hallway, venting to a sympathetic producer about defending the underrepresented, her adrenaline still pumping like post-curtain call. The Loose Women team huddles in a frantic war room. Should they salvage the segment with edits, or air it raw to capitalize on the drama? Christine Lampard, caught in the crossfire, advocates for balance, while Stacey Solomon texts her husband Joe Swash for advice on defusing bombs. Back on set, the panel reconvenes awkwardly, forced smiles masking the unease as makeup artists stab at flushed faces. When the show resumes, the air is charged, and the audience senses the polite applause feels forced, the energy altered. Julie returns, her smile a masterpiece of restraint, but her eyes betray a storm. The topic shifts to lighter fare, a favorite holiday recipes, but the elephant lumbers on, unspoken. Denise, true to form, can't resist a veiled olive branch lace with barb. Julie, we're all for a supercalifragilisticexpialidocious world, but let's make it for everyone, eh? The audience titters nervously, but Julie's response is ice. Indeed, Denise, just as long as the docious doesn't drown out the fragilistic. It's a zinger delivered with surgical precision, eliciting gasps and scattered claps. The panel teeters on, but cracks widen. Nadia's jokes land flat, Stacey's anecdotes feel trivial. Then, the producer's cue comes via earpiece to Christine, pivot to audience questions. A planted fan lobs a softball about Julie's wellness routine, but another, emboldened by the vibe, asks Denise point blank, "What do you say to critics who think Loose Women pushes too hard on politics?" Denise's retort is swift, "I say, if not us, who?" Silence is complicity. Julie, unable to contain herself, interjects softly but firmly, "And aggression is alienation. We've enough division without turning talk into tirades." The studio erupts at cheers from one side, boos from another as Denise wheels on her. Aggression? This is advocacy. Julie, try living without the safety net of sainthood. The word sainthood lands like a gauntlet, Julie's face paling as she stands, microphone in hand as the sun sets on that chaotic taping day. The digital dawn breaks with ferocity, smartphones across Britain and beyond alight with leaked footage and feverish speculation. By evening, #Loose Women clash trends worldwide, amassing millions of views in hours, with TikTok edits sinking Julie's retorts to Do Re Mi remixes and Denise's barbs to punk rock anthems. Tabloids pounce. The Sun screams Nanny McFurry, while The Guardian pens When Grace Meets Grit, a tale of two divas. Julie Andrews, retreating to her Surrey countryside haven, fields calls from concerned friends like Christopher Plummer's estate and Emma Thompson, who quips, "Darling, you gave them a masterclass and exit stage left." Her initial silence speaks volumes, allowing the storm to swirl unchecked. Denise Welch, meanwhile, heads to the pub with panel mates, toasting resilience over pints, but her phone buzzes incessantly, supporters hailing her as a truth warrior, detractors branding her a bully and blonde. ITV's switchboard melts under complaints and commendations, a 60-40 split favoring Julie's poise over Denise's punch. Social media fractures along fault lines. Older fans decry disrespect to a national treasure, younger voices champion calling out complacency, with hashtags like #StandWithJulie and #Denise did nothing wrong duking it out in the feeds. Late night shows Pouncey James Corden, now back in the UK, does a skit with puppets, while on American telly, Colbert quips, "When Mary Poppins meets Manchester, supercalifragilistic." The morning after, breakfast TV dissects it ad nauseum. Good Morning Britain pits talking heads and mock debates, one side mourning the death of decorum, the other celebrating cathartic candor. Julie breaks radio silence on BBC Radio 4's A Woman's Hour, her voice a soothing balm. It was a vigorous exchange, not a vendetta. Denise is formidable. We simply diverged. Let's remember, dialogue dances, sometimes it steps on toes. Her grace only amplifies the backlash against the show, with petitions circulating for a non-air apology and boycotts whispered in comment sections. Weeks unfurl like pages in Julie's memoir, and the dust settles into a new normal, but not without reshaping the landscape of Loose Women and beyond. The show, ever adaptive, launches a Clash to Cash initiative via ironic workshops on constructive debate, featuring guests like Esther Ranson and Janet Street Porter, who quip, "We've been at it for decades, it's our secret to longevity." Ratings hold steady, buoyed by the buzz, but subtle shifts emerge. Topics tiptoe around landmines. Panels diversify with more elder voices to counter boomer-bashing claims. Denise Welch emerges as the phoenix, her candor catapulting her to podcast stardom. Welch's wake-up call debuts at #1, dissecting celebrity spats with guests from Lily Allen to Russell Brand. She dedicates an episode to Julie. No bad blood, just bold boundaries, weaving admiration with unapologetic reflection. I pushed because I care about her legacy, about ours. If it ruffled feathers, better ruffled than plucked. Fans flock, her authenticity antidote to polished personas, and book deals pour in, including a foreword by Gloria Steinem praising her fearless feminism. Yet shadows linger, whispers of difficult labels haunt auditions, though she shrugs them off with Geordie grit. I've been the villain before makes the hero's arc sweeter. For Julie Andrews, the incident proves a phoenix flight of another feather. Her memoir skyrockets to bestseller lists, prompting a U.S. tour where she weaves the tale into anecdotes, charming crowds with, "Darling, even nannies need timeouts," invites flood, TED Talks on the art of resilient revival, masterclasses at Trada on vocal vulnerability, and a surprise cameo in a Netflix docuseries on Broadway survivors.